Hi, good morning everybody. Today we're going to be doing the active integration of one iPad in the classroom, and you're going to notice that yes, today you are at your own building. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about each of those topics that I covered at the training earlier, and I'm going to be sharing things that teachers have shared with me. I had sent out a Google form asking teachers to give me their input and telling me what they've been doing in the classroom. So this morning is all about me going over what was shared with me. I had some people respond by email. I had some folks contact me and say they were fine with me coming out to videotape to get some clips that way. So you're going to see a lot of different ways that I'm sharing resources today. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first category is whole group. All right, and if you remember, that was where I talked about Air Server and some other apps. Now on Air Server, remember, that's the one that allows you to connect your iPad to the projector. And I have a couple of folks that filled out that Google form and said, I've got Steve Peters from Arlington and Jennifer Brown over at Kitley that both said that they're using Air Server for Reading Wonders, and they're also using it pretty extensively for math lessons, and they like it for modeling thinking. I know there's others of you out there that are using it as well for those same things, and maybe you just didn't get a chance to fill out the form, but I just wanted to let you know some ways that teachers have already started saying how they love using Air Server in the classroom. Okay? Under that category, then we've got the Stage Pro and iPivo Whiteboard. Now those are the two apps that allows it to be a document camera and an interactive whiteboard. And I know about halfway through after our training, I had said stop using Stage Pro. Now everybody use iPivo Whiteboard. Since that time, Stage Pro has now made their updates, and I'm just going to be honest with you that I would always have more than one of those types of apps loaded on your iPad so that if one acts up, if for some reason that day that that the app shuts down on you quickly, it's not because of Air Server. It is just it's like a little glitch within the app, and that's where you always see with apps that you get constant updates. So let's say you're doing a lesson and you have a problem with Stage Pro. Okay, close that app out and then just pop into iPivo Whiteboard. Some teachers in the districts have also been using EduCreation, so that's another option as well. Okay, now I've got some teachers that told me how they are using that. So Hillary Huff over at Thompson Crossing said that when she was teaching about traditional long division, she extensively used her iPad with that iPivo Whiteboard app. She liked the ability to be able to model for the students so they could see. And Denise Eichhoff over at Arlington at Teaching Reach said that the iPivo Whiteboard is very user-friendly. It allows her to easily show off student work without disrupting a child as they work, which that's a really valid point that I hadn't thought about, how you're not disturbing the child if you're just walking around and watching them work and you want to take a clip of someone's work to show the class. Okay? Now, Denise also let me record her when I was at Arlington when she was talking about iPivo, and I asked her to share with everyone some of her tidbits.
Okay. Hi, I'm Denise Eichhoff. I teach math and science to the 4th and 5th grade Reach students at Arlington Elementary. And I like Whiteboard as an app for my iPad because I can demonstrate how to solve an equation right on there and move about the room. If I'm actually at my board talking to students, I'm locked to the board. But this way I can move around the room, help keep students better on task as I'm demonstrating how to solve an equation.
All right, so I really liked when Denise mentioned that she felt like that if she was up at the whiteboard that she was locked to the whiteboard. I mean, that was a great way to put that. Also with the iPivo Whiteboard, and those document camera interactive whiteboard apps. Last week I was out doing additional support at Kitley, and Tammy Beechler came up to me and she was talking to me about how she said, Nadine, I want to be able to use my iPad at math stations. And she had downloaded some consumption math apps, which, with math, you're going to have some of that. But she really wanted to know, for math stations, how could she be better utilizing her iPad? So I told Tammy something that I used to do in my classroom is I would have the students record the video tutorials. I don't want a teacher to think that it's not okay to hand the iPad to the student and have the student show their thinking, you know, model that visible thinking of what's going on in math. So if I was going to have a student do a tutorial, what I would do is I would give the students some problems, and I would tell them that if they got all of the problems right, or if they only missed one, possibly two, then they could get what I call the expert badge, and that's what you see a picture of over here. And by the way, if any of you are interested in those, I have a bunch of them hanging in my office. If you want one for your classroom, I can easily drop some off at some schools for you. So a student would get the expert badge, and I would say, hey, you know, I think you're at expert level, and that means that you understand it so well that you could thoroughly teach it to someone else. So I'm going to let you use the iPad, and I want you to record what we did in math today. And that meant so much to the students. And I had to keep purchasing more expert badges because more and more kids wanted that opportunity. So it was really an engaging factor. So consider doing that at math stations. And I know Tammy said she was going to try it out. If you guys do that in your classroom, send me an email or send me a link to those tutorials that the kids are making, because I know that would be great to add to our website. Another way that we're using the IPEVO Whiteboard app, I had Amanda Sanders talk a little bit about how she takes photos of student work.
Hi, I'm Amanda Sanders. I use my iPad for the Whiteboard app to take photos of pictures of students' work. We use it for examples to show the class, and we look at how to compare and edit our work for quality.
So I thought that's a great way, because I always hear people saying that, you know, oh, I'll take a snapshot of one student's work, but I like how she has a snapshot of two students with their work compared, and so that way they can talk about, you know, how those two pieces of work are alike and how they're different and what they can do to maximize their learning with it. All right, the next one in whole group is TinyTap, okay, and with TinyTap, I have made several interactive games with TinyTap, but I had mentioned in the training that I had made it a lot for lower level students, for actually my kids at home. But I knew once I introduced that we would have some teachers that would be able to think about how could we apply this for grades 3 through 5. So Amber Hyde over at Kitley has done a really great job of integrating the TinyTap app, and I'd like for you to listen how she's been able to integrate this with everyday math.
I use TinyTap for whole group instruction. I have used it in math. I've created a whole bunch of fraction TinyTap games. It is great to project onto the screen, and it gets more kids involved. They participate more. I take problems from the actual journal pages, and we do it on the journal page, and then we do it on the TinyTap. So it's a great way to be able to maneuver around the classroom and get the students involved in the activities.
And on the next slide, Amber's actually going to show you an example of this, so I'll play this clip as well.
Okay, so this is one I created. This is an actual problem from the Everyday Math journal page. So we solved it in the journal page, and then I called students up. So this says place the fractions in order from least to greatest. And after they solve it, I call students up one by one, and they drag the fractions. And if they get it right, there's a celebration. If you get it wrong, it doesn't work. So it has to go directly into the box.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of how you could use TinyTap in the classroom. And, you know, I like the fact that Amber mentions that she uses it for whole group, because when I was using TinyTap, I was thinking about it for individual practice. When the students are at stations, either math stations or literacy stations, there's lots of different games that are already created that we could use for extra skill practice. So tap into that gallery where they have a lot of teachers that have already made them. The amount of teachers in the district that are starting to make more TinyTap lessons is starting to increase. If you have an interest in learning more about TinyTap and how to make one yourself, don't forget that I have information about that on FT Tech Tips. I actually have a video of me explaining how to make a game. All right, so I want you to pause the video and turn and talk. So really all the strategies that we've talked about so far have been whole group. So I want you to pause the video, have a discussion. Maybe there are additional ideas that you're doing at your building that you want to jot down. And please take notes on those, because then we're going to compile those notes to share out to all teachers as well. Okay, so the next category is the small group or teacher table, and here's some of the apps that teachers have been able to integrate. I just have a snapshot there to begin with. And Amanda Sanders is going to talk just briefly about how she has used Chatterpix for a project.
I also use my iPad for the Chatterpix app, and my students have used it recently to research Native American homes and create a project where their Native American home talked and said the facts that they had found out about the Native American house.
Native American house is an adobe house. I am made out of clay and straw baked into hard bricks. Native Americans have been living in me for many generations. I am a structure which can contain dozens of units.
Okay, so Amanda had some great examples. This example was submitted by Sarah Patterson and Courtney Lumley over at Kitley, and I'll go ahead and play a snippet of this. It says that students were given a variety of questions, and they were asked to answer the question in the character's perspective. If you don't recognize the photo, this is from the novel Wonder.
I learned from Augie that is always be yourself and be very nice to everybody, and that you should always learn stuff from people and listen to what they say.
All right, so that's a great example with Chatterpix. And again, you know, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know if my students could do that, it might take too long, you know, just having it at stations, you know, it's just a 30-second recording, having the students type up or write up what they're going to say, having them practice it several times before they actually open the app, you'll be surprised how quickly that you can get through doing something like that. And don't expect to try to get it all done in one day. Whenever I did projects like that in my classroom, there was no way I fit all of that into one sitting. But the kids are going to love the engagement with it. All right, this is showing Telegami, and remember Telegami is the one where you can create a virtual avatar of yourself. And Mary Beth Gossard, who is ENL at Arlington and Adams, had her students in ENL do a project using Telegami. So we'll listen to a snippet of this one.
In this picture right beside me, you can see that they are sleeping on the roof. And you might ask why they are sleeping on the roof. Because it's very hot, so that's why they are in the roof of a building. To get some sleep with fresh air and be comfortable. And the other building, it looks like it's been destroyed by war. And I noticed that they are women and children. Maybe it's because they could watch their children while sleeping on the roof.
All right, great example. Thank you, Mary Beth, for sending that. And again, if you do anything with Telegami, please send me those samples as well. I would love to add them to the website. All right, so with literacy stations, we've got several apps in here that teachers have been using, and I've got some other video clips of how they're using things in the classroom. I didn't have a teacher that I was able to record about using Quick Voice, but remember, if you are at the beginning stages of using this iPad, that Quick Voice is a real easy one to use at teacher table or at literacy stations with students just recording a passage. All right, we're going to listen to a teacher at Kitley, and she's going to talk about how she's been using the app Epic in her classroom, which I know a lot of teachers love Epic. Oh, and I just skipped past her. Okay, here we go.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Baker. I teach 4th grade at Kitley Elementary. I'm going to be talking about Epic today. It's an app with free books for kids, and you can create a profile, and your whole class can have their own, each student can have their own profile. And I really like it because it's very individual. They can pick what kind of books they like, what they're interested in, and they can have a password so no other student can get in. It times how long they've read, how many pages they've flipped in the time, so I know if they're just looking at pictures or if they're actually reading. I use it at stations, so they can use it at Read to Self. That way, it's not just a regular book, but they love having the iPad. It's one of their favorite things in the classroom since they've gotten it. So I love to use it, and so do my students.
All right, so a great way to use Epic in the classroom. All right, several of you have talked about using Newsomatic in the classroom, and if you aren't familiar again with that one, it provides different current events, articles at a student's level. Mackenzie Moore over at South Creek, I've used the Newsomatic app to teach the importance of journalism, how newspapers are created, how you link nonfiction to fiction, author's point of view, and she even uses it with 6 traits with word choice, so she really loves that app. Mary Beth Gossard, again, at Arlington and Adams, ENL, she likes the videos that actually tag and go along with the reading as well, and it's so helpful for the ENL students. So Newsomatic is one that you want to take a look at as well. All right, Wonderbox is the next app that we have a little video about.
Hi, I'm Katie Reynolds from South Creek, and I'm talking about Wonderbox, which is an awesome app on your iPad. And I use Wonderbox throughout multiple subjects in my classroom. The topics on Wonderbox are mainly social studies and science-based. However, there are a lot of variety of topics. And you go in through picking. There are a variety of topics, and you pick which topic you are researching or learning about. I used it in particular when we were reading a novel about Neil Armstrong, and we went into space and we did topics having to do with life as an astronaut. So students watch videos and read articles about life as an astronaut, and then at the very end, they record a video to their parents explaining why they would or would not be good at astronaut using the facts that they learned about from the videos.
All right, so consider using Wonderbox. And I know that I added on a blog post that Wonderbox has a beta version called Wonderbox EDU. And if you're wanting to sign up to be a Wonderbox ambassador, make sure that you take a look at that blog post and you can get signed up. They're sending out free t-shirts, all kinds of different little freebies to teachers because they're wanting you to test it out. With the Wonderbox EDU, you set up your class, and so then when you want to use it at stations or when the student's going to work on their project, they can tap on their name, and then if they're not finished with the project, they can go back to it and finish it then. Okay? All right, I want you to pause and turn and talk again now about stations and how you are utilizing the iPad, and make sure that you take down notes about it. All right, so the last segment is teacher tools, and we had kind of a mix on this one. We've got teachers using Kahoot and Plickers, iMovie, ThingLink, ClassDojo. I did want to point out that I've only got a few teachers that I know of that are starting to use the Seesaw app, and that was the one where you can snap photos of student work and it'll save it digitally. And I know that we had several K-2 teachers that began to use Seesaw, and I want to make sure I get a plug in there that if you haven't tried Seesaw or you haven't taken a look at it, I would highly encourage you to do that. Even reach out to those K-2 teachers in your building that you know that are using Seesaw. I'm going to be participating in a webinar this evening that's going to be about how to use Seesaw in a grades 3 through 8 classroom. So I'm going to be adding additional resources about that app as well. But let's get to some ways that teachers in the district have been using teacher tools. Okay, Dahlia Cirilla over at South Creek is going to talk about 2 or 3 of these all within this video clip.
Hi, some of the ways that I use the iPad in class is with Kahoot.
we do a whole class lesson where each table is a team, and we have different teams. We have a computer person, we have a runner that goes between the tables and the computers. I display it on the iPad, and it's on the big screen for all the students to see. They read the question, and then the runner goes and tells the computer person what the answer is after the teams have chosen their answers.
I do want to pause her there for a second because I know teachers have talked about, oh, I want to use Kahoot, but I feel like I always have to go to the lab. So I wanted everyone to hear how Dahlia's been able to integrate using Kahoot with having one iPad in the classroom. So you can do Kahoot. She's using the student computers and the iPad, and she has them in teams rather than them operating individually. So consider that as an option.
I also do table teams with Class Dojo, where they are a team, and I have them set as teams on Class Dojo, and it's a reward system where if they're working together, or their tables are clean, or if they're ready to go for learning, they earn points throughout the day for those, if they're working quietly and being respectful. So each team earns points, and then by the end of the month, we look to see who won, and those.
And I'm going to pause her again because I know that there are several teachers that are already using Class Dojo, but I just wanted you to hear that tidbit as well.
We also do book trailers. We started off with picture books, and they read the picture book. They picked a theme off of the iPad Movies app, and then they did book trailers. They learned how to use it. I just gave them the iPad, and I said, learn how to make a book trailer with it. They spent a few days on it, and then we got to watch it, and it was lots of fun. Another thing that we do for stations is that I pull up Newsomatic. They read a current events article. We have graphic organizers with us. We fill in the graphic organizers. Sometimes we compare two articles that we've read, and we summarize during station time at the teacher table.
Here's an example of one of the movie trailers that Dahlia's class had done. I'll just show a short snippet of it so you can get the idea. So there's one example of a student-produced, it was an iMovie book trailer. So do consider using the iMovie app, and it is really relatively easy to use. So that's just a great idea. Notice that the kids just took photos of the inside of the picture book. The music and so on, all of that was preloaded in the choice that they made to do the book trailer. For additional samples, there's going to be a web page that I'm going to share out with everybody that's going to have several other student examples on it as well from different teachers. Okay, I got this great field trip idea that came from Jennifer McIntyre, who's 4th grade at South Creek. When they went on a field trip in the fall, they visited the Benjamin Harrison Home, the State House, and the State Library. When they were at each spot, they used the camera app, and then they uploaded those pictures to ThingLink, and students were able to add facts or different information while they were traveling on the field trip. This is an example of what they looked like. So if I were to click on these images, the kids were basically adding the information as they were on the field trip, which is a great idea. Okay. Also consider attending your meetings virtually as a great teacher tool. You may or may not be able to see her, but this is Stephanie Donnelly attending a meeting virtually. You know, because Stephanie is split between South Creek and also Thompson Crossing. And if you are an ENL teacher, or if you or supposed to attend a certain meeting and you weren't able to make it there because you were somewhere else, using your iPad is a great option for that. So rather than Stephanie having to worry about trying to hurry up and travel over to the other building, I know that our ENL teachers have gotten really good about utilizing that iPad to have themselves be there virtually so they can still attend meetings, even, conferences and different things like that. All right. So turn and talk about some of the teacher tools that you can use in your classroom. Okay, so to wrap things up, I have created this chart and it's also available on the website. I'm going to show you where it's at in just a minute. I want you to take a look at where you fall on this chart. And I know I had you guys rate yourself before, but I like this chart even better. Are you at survival mode? Are you afraid of breaking the iPad? You don't know what to do. You're not sure that you would know. You want to try to use it in lessons, but you just don't know how. Okay, so next to this, you've got, so when I'm in your building for additional support, that's when you need to be trying to see me so I can help you get started with integrating apps. I'm more than willing to help anyone in the district. If there's someone who's not as tech savvy, that's totally fine. I want to get your comfort level up so that you can then reach this mastery level. So you've gotten some training from me, you've been practicing some apps, you're starting to feel a little bit more confident. What do you do for me, to get support from me? So if I'm in your building for additional support, talk to me about some of the apps that you've tried. Just that conversation that Tammy Beechler and I were able to have, that was a great conversation. And she left with some additional integration ideas that she hadn't thought of. So I'm not asking you to take up, your whole prep. Just stop by and see me, and maybe we can sit down for a few minutes and talk about things that you could try in your classroom. So if you're already at that level, you feel like that you're at an impact level, you're embedding technology in your lessons, you're doing it pretty effectively, then you need to be looking at the blog. My blog is where I keep posting the most current tech integration ideas that I come up with or that I find. Follow me on Pinterest. FT Tech is on Facebook. Start to share out your integration ideas that you've tried. Share it out with me, share it out with the world on Twitter. If you're at that highest level, then you need to become active on Twitter and that power of sharing what you do in the classroom. You'll have an active PLN. Start to tag me if you're on Twitter. Put @Nadine_Gilkison and that hashtag of #FlashForward. Okay? All right, one last thing before we're finished. I wanted to show you on FT Tech Tips under the iPad tab, there is one that says Active Integration. And I've actually updated the page and it says Active Integration grades 3 through 5. When you click on that page, you're going to see this presentation. There's the chart that I mentioned if you want to go back and take a look at it. Underneath that, I have a link to all of the integration ideas that were shared across the district, actually kindergarten through 5th grade, on the same Google form. So you're going to see the results. We've got at least 40 ideas that are on there of how teachers have been using their iPad in Franklin Township. Here are those teacher video clips. I know that they're embedded within the presentation, but maybe you just want to go back and watch one of those video clips again. We didn't have time to share absolutely everything. There's also several student examples that are on here. We've got the ThingLink images that are on here as well that you can interact with. I did want to tell you that if you weren't featured on here, don't feel like that you cannot still share things with me. Please share out anytime. I know that, with me being K-12, I'm kind of everywhere in every building, but I want to get out there because you are probably doing something great in your building that somebody else has no idea, and they would love to hear the idea that you're doing in your classroom. So we're finished, and I hope everybody has a great day.